3 surprising things I learned quitting my nutrition job. Now, of course, right now I was going actually through my master's and doing a master's to become a certified nutrition specialist, more on working through medical nutrition therapy, using nutrition as a therapy versus using something like pharmaceutical or going through an invasive procedure such as bariatrics. And I used to work in that field. So, and I want to talk specifically when I left bariatrics because it was so, it's like a, how can I say this? It was like a conflict of interest because at the time I was already kind of deep, my kitty, I was already a little bit deep into my vegan lifestyle. He's going to want to He's gonna want to get it. I was already a little bit deep into my vegan lifestyle, or just like my whole foods journey of just eating more fruits and vegetables and things like that, right? Well, during the time, everything was great. I was working my big girl job. I was so excited. I had finally landed a big girl job, especially in a community where it was very tough to find a nutrition job. And I remember even quitting and one nutritionist where I did my nutrition degree. A lot of them moved to that bigger city. So we did it in like in a smaller city or in a smaller town, I would say. And anyways, I remember one nutritionist at that time, she was working for the food bank, or was she working for WIC? And she said, "Why would you leave that job? Like, that's like the best job ever." And it's like, yes, it was the best job ever. I love my patients, but it just didn't feel right. I feel like I was lying to my patients, if anything. So so we kind of backtrack. I initially started off as a chef. I went to culinary school. I did two years of that. I just love everything when it comes to the kitchen. That's like my passion. I'm like, that's where I shine. I love cooking, and I love feeding and love nourishing. So that's where I started. And then I did my nutrition. And when I did my bachelor's in human sciences, but it was like a my concentration was human nutrition. It was great, but it was more leading to become a dietitian. I didn't want to go that route. So anyways, fast forward, it was really tough to find a job. And when I did land this big girl job, quote unquote, I was really excited. I was really excited to finally go into and work in a private doctor setting and work one-on-one with clients. And it felt so nice, like calling your patients out of the door and asking them to come into your office and spending time with them. The one bad thing I was really bad at was time. I just wanted to give them so much information, but it was just not enough in those 30 minutes because I had patients back to back to back 30 minutes. But anyways, the realities of this industry is they use a nutritionist to sign off for the insurance companies. So they had to meet with me, and sometimes they would meet with me depending on how many times. So 12 times, so it'd be one time a month, or 6 times, so forth and so forth, as you get that point, or one time, depending on the insurance and depending the severity of their let me let my dog out. Depending on the severity of their status. And when I say status, I mean that because I was working more with morbidly obese patients. So anyways, and if you see me looking at the screen, it's because I have kind of like a little bit of an outline, things I want to get through. And I will make this kind of quick. But things that I was challenged with was the demand, the stress of the job, and the environment, especially the environment. It was so hard. And I'm a very forgiving person now on the spiritual path that I've been on. And it's just kind of like that meme that I've seen. It's like, let them. And it's so funny because even after I left, I was still invited back to like do like little cooking demos and things like that. But there was a lot of conflict between, so this is the one thing, so this is number one. There was a lot of conflict between me and one of the other doctors, not the main doctor, but one of the other doctors, because the advice he was giving was going like against the opposite of what I was saying. Like, I would tell them to focus. Let's say that the patient, I'm going to put an example. Let's say the patient was asked to lose a certain amount of weight before going into their surgery. I would try to give them great advice to lose a good chunk of that weight. But then when they would meet with the doctor would give them like a totally opposite side of things when it came to nutrition. And mind you, doctors do not get as much nutrition study as somebody who actually goes through the nutrition school and goes through that process. I forget how many hours they get. They don't get that many. So that was one thing. The other thing was the environment. It was so demanding that even asking for time off, they made you feel like you didn't deserve to ask for time off. And I worked there for like a year and a couple of months, so it was a little bit of I don't know. There was like this one incident that happened towards kind of like the end of me quitting or putting my 2 weeks notice, because I did put my 2 weeks notice. And the thing was too is like sometimes my patients on Fridays or on a Thursday, sometimes I think that day was Thursday, it'd be like scattered, and it's like, oh, why not ask them to just like come in or whatever? Like, the time wasn't being used, and I know and I understand it's like a 9 to 5, and you have to work, right? But anyways, that was one of the things. And yeah, and that really impacted me mentally, because it was like an abusive relationship. It was like I had to deal with the manager, and I had to apologize, and then I would feel that negativity, and I would feel also like that it felt almost like a hostile environment. And then the doctor, when I would try to talk to him, it was like a totally different thing. The doctor was like he's on his own schedule, and he's in his own little mind too, because he's worried about having the surgeries, getting the surgeries done, getting the patients in, having them complete all the process. So anyways, that was one of the biggest challenges. I loved my job. I loved meeting with the patients. Like, that's like my thing. I love people, and I love helping people as much as I can, especially with this gift that I've been given. So, surprise number one was the importance of personal growth for me. Leaving felt like going against the grain, because, again, we go back to what that one nutritionist said, that's like the greatest job ever. Why would you leave? Well, I needed to leave that job in order to find myself now on this path that I'm on right now. Well, I'm on two paths a little bit. I'm on my motherhood path, and also redefining my path of my quote unquote career. I'm not really stressing on it. Mikey, no. So realizing that this was kind of holding me back to something greater that was happening a couple months down the road, I did happen to go back to my marketing job because it paid really well. But also I started my yoga teacher training, and all of that led to me working in a community clinic, which was great. That was like one of the best jobs I ever had. And I only left because I I had just gotten pregnant, and my morning nausea was so bad that I couldn't go in. Like, there was just no way I could go in. And these are the normal things that happen when you're pregnant during that first trimester. So that's the one thing. The second thing was so that was surprise number one. The second thing was also putting an importance, and this is going back to kind of like surprise number one, putting that importance of self-care, of putting myself first before others. And it's not even about me and others, or putting myself before others, sorry, putting myself before my job because I was so much putting that before me that I was putting myself on the back burner. And this is what led me to go into a yoga studio and actually take a yoga class. Because, or there was a little bit of a mix of both, but I actually, and this is so funny because I was in between not wanting to leave, that on Facebook, I had found like they were having a yoga nutrition workshop it was a weekend intensive, and it was actually a teacher training, but you can kind of just take it in as a workshop. And when I went into that, I was like, wow, like this is like the environment I want to be in. I want to be around. I love yoga. I love everything that the asanas has to offer when it comes to mind, body, and spirit. But I also like this like environment we put ourselves in. It's like a bubble. You put yourself in a bubble. If you've never gone through a teacher training in person, it's like the best thing. Highly recommend it. But you put yourself in a bubble, and when you leave on Sunday, you're just like, you just feel so empowered and so, I don't know, motivated to do other things in your life. And that redefined like my view on things, and it gave me the courage actually to leave my job, because at that time I was kind of like in a limbo. Should I leave? Should I not leave? And I want to go back to, as anyone in the field, if you're in a corporate job, if you're not a nutritionist and you're watching this, whatever job you're in, is knowing that your self-worth is more important than what people define or think of you. So knowing the value that you bring, knowing the value that you are, knowing the value of your gifts, that's more important. And that intertwines with the second one of self-care. It made me realize that. It made me realize that I didn't have to hold this big girl job to be someone important. I could still hold too many jobs and still bring more to the table to people and still feel within myself balanced in my mind. So anyways, during this time, I haven't been doing my master's because last semester I took a class, and here in Texas, it's a little difficult to do things, especially if you want to practice medical nutrition therapy. Maybe in the future I'll move to Florida or move somewhere where I can continue. And I only have like 5 classes left, which is sad to say. Like, I'm almost there. And I love the program. It's taught me a lot of things. I love all the cooking stuff. Even though it's all 100% online, like there was still a lot of cooking stuff in it. It was through Maryland University of Integrative Health, but now it's through Maryland University of Notre Dame. So, yeah. If you're a nutritionist out there, or if you want to practice nutrition, I would say go ahead, do your studies, but don't let anything from the outside influence what's really going on inside and the goals that you have, because sometimes that could hold you back. And you, as an ex people pleaser, you don't want to keep people pleasing all the way when you're in deep and you're realizing this doesn't feel right for me. And sadly, when it comes to people who are on their weight loss journey, I wish, one of the things is, I hear you, I believe you, and I see you, and I want to let you know that it doesn't have to be hard. You don't have to go through these extensive processes to lose all that weight. I'll make another video of myths that you should know as a nutritionist, or as someone who wants to nourish their body and feel healthy and feel balanced. So I didn't feel right lying to my patients, if anything, and telling them that, yes, this is going to solve all your problems, because it's not. the root cause of weight gain, or someone who is morbidly obese or obese, it has a lot to do with mental. It has to do a lot with mindfulness. It has to also do a lot with your traumas that you're using, that you're leveraging, or you're leveraging food to resolve those issues, or to kind of just push all that down. And I love everything about mindfulness, and that was like the one thing that I loved giving my patients is like, let's be mindful. Let's work through, if you're feeling triggered or you're feeling like you want to go and eat something, come to your breath. And at that time, I wasn't even doing like practice or like teaching yoga. I was just practicing it, or practicing the asanas. Anyways, these are 3 surprising things I learned quitting my nutrition job. It's not for everybody. It's not for the weak. But I still continue to practice it every day within myself, or with the foods that we or I feed my son, feed myself, feed my husband. And yeah. Hope you enjoyed this video.